Don't fall.
That's awesome.
I know.
So it's just like work session.
Good work.
I'm watching out for you. Next time.
I'll give you a pass this one time.
Okay, this time.
Yeah, they just left over. Sally.
So. The work session amongst ourselves.
Haven't had that in a while.
From the guys.
Yep. All right, I think.
It's almost good.
That's even better than one. That really got that.
Yeah.
60 days, man.
I'm sure I got it traveling, you know. I don't think I've got a big dude. Yeah, I know. We don't have anything to do with it. That is something important. Okay, so.
Yeah. There's this rate.
Okay. Because I thought we should know that. We can see plenty of Ross.
Sent you an early version. You can have
Okay,
it set that off to the,
you will read it.
town model. Okay.
Hi. Hi, Maria.
Oh.
Your nice leave time. You just should never make a case, I should have watched. You should never make a case, you don't watch.
Yeah.
I think Keith is gonna be joining online, so.
Okay. What?
Let's see.
Oh, actually, a great deal today. Is that this side? Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and get started.
Oh.
Yeah.
Should I call the marching band in?
No, not yet, but. Oh, yeah.
That's not good.
He looks at it. Okay. No, it's him. Okay. All right, no problem. Hi, I have a little cold. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, actually.
Okay, so call the meeting to order and we'll take the roll. Please.
All right, Joan Eaton.
Here.
Sean Putt.
Here.
Cindy Neely.
Here.
Betsy Blakeslee.
Here.
Mark Reynolds.
Here.
Bob Hamilton.
Here.
Frank Keenza.
Here.
Look at you.
And do you have any changes to the agenda?
No,
not since we have all these things listed. Okay, so the audience, this, so let's get back to it. Staff updates.
Approve the agenda.
Look here, motion.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Are you second?
All in favor? Aye. Present, because everybody shows up. Staff update.
Okay, so the first thing on here is the Colorado Preservation Saving Places Conference. According to the scholarship reimbursement request, the thing I need from you guys, and I will email this to you as well, is a list of sessions and dates attended or recordings watched Rita required of please list all sessions. 3 things the attendees learn overall, not per session. And then would the attendee recommend the educational program to other CLGs and the date of commission board meeting where information will be shared with others. So,
this was coming.
Great.
Yeah, well, actually, they shared with others, I mean, now's the perfect time if you wanna, lots of them, and who did what. Those. Oh, wow.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I have a list. I have the list of the conferences I attended.
I'll just use Sean.
I was Mark, so.
Yeah, he's Mark Brown, too.
If you trade some of the impressions we got, we don't have to supply her the list right now.
Okay.
Just the impressions of things that, you know, the overall. Look at you.
It was easy, that was my schedule, and I think I attended most all of those, so it's good.
Okay, now the state takeaway from the conference, something that you remember,
I
something.
didn't like lunch.
Yeah.
No, I just did the tax credit one, and I've been through it one time, I want to do it again. I'm glad I guess I did have a few new things. It was a commercial tax credits.
The commercials, I just told somebody this today, and I hope I was right. Commercials have to go through the state, right? They
Yes.
can't come through us.
Right.
Okay, because
They'll,
that's what
they'll
I,
try to come back and ask for our opinion,
yes,
but we don't have to sign off
right, the state has.
on this.
And that's, well, the state can also sign off on your kids.
That I didn't get. I'm not
Okay,
sure about that. Well, they talk more about approval of money. And once that disappears, then that's it for them.
for that round.
But once in a while, they're under on something and they reopen. the time period. So.
Although some people might have credits that they can't use it there to settle,
Oh, absolutely.
and so you might be able to get some. But you might do it through the state now.
If that's actually an asset for you, you can actually go to the bank. And use that as a.
Wow.
A lot of people use it as collateral.
Yeah, yeah. That would make sense. It's 35%, it's in rural areas.
I think so.
And that's really a lot, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You put $100,000 in and somebody's gonna give you things like that. The curious thing too on those is if you happen to get a grant, you know, grants to individuals from the state historic fund are 50-50. So if the state's gonna put 100,000 in your bill, then you have to be putting 100,000 in. But by some quirk, you get 35% of both of those.
I don't know.
So you would get $70,000 back. And you would have only put in actually
Well, tax credit.
from the tax credit, you get on 200, you would get 70,000 back. And you would have actually only put in 100. So you're out 30,000 for $200,000 from the board.
So it's pretty easy.
Oh, absolutely, it is, it's funding, so we have to be in non-profits and get tax credits.
Yeah, exactly. It's a huge thing. And then you can turn around and sell them
That's right.
and have cash.
Well, you can't sell it, state sells it, so we don't get as much for it.
When you sell them.
Well, you can sell them, the state doesn't sell them, you can go through tax credit connection, but they're not a state outfit. You can privately
You
sell.
can't sell yours to me outright. There's a system, because,
Oh, yeah, you have to go through the process,
Yeah.
but
But yes, he could sell his to you.
but not right here.
No, not right there. He couldn't hand you these and say, hey,
So put the money back in your pocket, you can't buy it.
yeah.
How many tax credit?
so anyway, that's one. Sean can have it.
Okay.
Well, which one was it?
Pick one you like.
Well, there's two actually. It was the refining the value of reuse with eyes towards climate change. And, they were talking about the carbon levels. Their carbon footprint. Repurposing a building. Versus tearing it down and building a new building.
Yeah.
There's a whole formula, you might know about it.
That's,
I didn't go to the, watching it the other day. There's a whole formula for it.
It's fairly new and they're working with, DC on it and. I don't know, I find it very interesting. You're better off to repurpose a building than tear it down, the footprint's a lot smaller.
Something more you can reuse.
So
Yeah,
we have to submit this discussion.
no, we had just told them when we had.
We don't have to see.
The stuff you have to tell me is the list of sessions that you attended, 3 things that you learned, and if you would recommend the educational program to other CLGs. And then the dates that we're having this discussion.
Just the date we're having this discussion, I wanna know we've shared it with each other.
Okay.
And we had to look, you have to list 3 things, right?
Yes.
That was one.
And
No, each have.
Yeah.
Each person was.
Okay, so my observation was there was a very serious, I think, and dedicated commitment to, I don't want to use the word alternative voices, but different voices in historic preservation. So we watched quite an interesting film about Chinatown and how the Chinatowns are being wiped out by construction throughout the United States. And I thought that that was a really excellent film and something I had not really considered. So it was very heartrending. It was interesting to hear the voices of people who had grown up in Chinatown, their grandparents had grown up in Chinatown. I mean, they became probably, what, late 1800s, because there was such an influx at that time. But lots of Chinatowns throughout the United States are demolished and high-rise. So the question becomes, number one, do these people have a right to their cultural heritage? Or is everything just going to be taken over by big business and people who have a lot of money who can afford to wipe out these cultural areas? I also thought it was very interesting that there were presentations by people who were from groups that are not generally represented. You know, when I listened to the beginning of the conference and they were talking about how they wanted to have an inclusion of voices that had not been heard, I started yawned, and I'm like, and it actually manifested itself extremely well, I thought. And so we did hear a lot of that, and I was just extremely struck by that. Also, the quality of the speakers was excellent, I thought. And some of these speakers just knocked you right out of the park. I mean, it was so encouraging because there's so much about historic preservation for me, both here and at West Point, but this can be so discouraging. And so, you know, there's so much stuff you have to go through to be a historic preservationist. And every one of those speakers told the same story. It's an endurance contest. And it's, you know, if you are committed, it's not gonna be easy. So you know, you have to understand that everybody else is going through the same thing as well. But they did a good job, I thought, of highlighting resources that I wasn't aware were available. And sort of explaining the whole structure of who does what in historic preservation in Colorado. I, you know, I went to, Cindy and I went to all of the days, and we went to every session, one of the sessions. And I was, quite frankly, I could say, I only had one session that was really kind of not good. But it was a couple of very young people. I imagine they'll get feedback and hopefully improve.
Yeah.
But for
It
the
also
most
takes
part,
practice.
but,
It takes practice too.
oh, it does.
Mhm.
Well, when I was head of the mass communications department at the college I was teaching at, my job was to, I had many jobs, but one of my jobs was to make sure that not one student graduated in mass communications that I had not completely altered their presentation style and gotten rid of their Valley Girl accents and all of that. And I mean,
That's
it's,
important.
it is so important. And, you know, there were two young women who had started this new business, and I was just like, it's very interesting what they were doing, but I could not even listen. I mean, I listened, of course, I listened to the whole thing, but I was like, man, I just wanted to go there and grab them by the collar when they came out and say, okay, this is what we need to do. Yeah, so, but it's so wonderful to be with such an interesting group of people who really are, for the most part, all just terribly committed to the work they're doing, the impossible work that they're doing. So you walk out of there just feeling like, I'm not crazy, this is how it is, you know? I mean, I felt very positively. I of course have the advantage of hanging with Cindy for the 3 days, so I got to meet all kinds of very interesting people who all are everybody. So I was like lucky. And so I was very positive. I can't wait to go back. Great.
Rick, do you have any?
I need to watch them.
Okay, we'll watch it.
I had deadlines over the last month.
Well, period.
I got reports to watch.
I was online for all of them, and I think I purchased or watched maybe 5 or 6 different ones. The ones that I have a takeaway from, there was one on reimagining home, and it basically took a look at the historic context and, you know, what they were like for trailer parks, you know, mobile home parks, or that type of thing. And said that, you know, depending on its historic context and you know, the type of architecture and so forth, they could be eligible for National Register, which I thought was interesting.
It is.
50 years old.
Yeah.
And, you know, Cindy, I mentioned this to Cindy, she mentioned that the trailer park across the highway there.
Mhm.
The historic context on that is that went in to support building I-70.
Mhm.
So I mean, that has a significant contribution to, you know, the locality here. I mean, that could be,
Over 50 years.
The thing, and it's, that's for 50 years.
yeah. And so my takeaway is maybe we should, you know, put on our list of things to do when we have spare time. Do some kind of an assessment of the places in town that are past that 50-year mark that, you know, maybe ought to be put on a list.
Mhm.
The time is probably prime for that. Another one I looked at, watched was, well, what I remember is I think it was either Dutch Boy or Sherman Williams. One of the big paint company signs down in Denver is on a building that's not, I don't know, I don't know, the building's privately owned, but the sign is considered historic in itself.
The Kelly Moore sign, I think.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. But they went through it and basically demonstrated how rather than fixing it because of cost and the sign had deteriorated, they actually went in and reconstructed the sign with modern technology. But the thing that I took away was at the end of it, somebody went in on the chat and made the point that if they had only asked neon light, neon lamp type houses, this could have been preserved and reconstructed. And the fact, and he raised the question, the fact that you basically just copied the sign and rebuilt it, is it really still historic?
A reproduction.
And I would say no, it's a reproduction, it's not. So I thought that was a good takeaway from that, what they had approved and done and commented on and made the whole presentation about really was, I can't cut off this. They hadn't really considered going to, and that ties in with one of the other ones, basically your tradesman that can do restoration, and it's more than just, wood and that kind of stuff. There's all kinds of restoration could be done, and there are craftsmen out there. You just need to see them.
And the craftsmen that really wanna participate in this, that are just sick about watching this stuff come down. And county stores.
And the other one that I brought home here because of the, what's going on with the energy museum and all that is the group out of Alma. That are reviving the North London Mill site. I mean, that's a real great story on local participation, also local craftsmen and contractors pitching in, local community pitching in. And repurposing that for, right now, they've done the first stage, which I guess is a trailhead that, it's got bathrooms and, they have problems with bathrooms at 11,000 feet because they had to meet code.
Yeah, that was the weird part, was the code.
Yeah, I mean, that was dumb.
That was a typical government deal.
Yeah.
Deal.
Yeah.
The county should have done something different. They could
Yeah,
have.
they could have put toilets in or something, or there are a lot of things that they could have done. Having running water at 11,000 feet is insane. In an unoccupied building. But, I think that there's some good lessons there for us, as we do things in town. But I thought the conference it had a lot of really good stuff this year.
What I took away from the whole place is that the energy level was really up.
Yeah.
It was just incredibly up and I've gone to this conference probably since it started. And there was the sense of somehow a page turning. It was to me, the sense and the feeling of, okay, we have talked for years about restoring buildings. And now we are focusing on, yes, we want to keep the building, but we want to know why we're keeping it. We want to know what the stories are and how many of those stories we can tie together. And we're making it more about, not more, but equally about the culture and the people that instead of, isn't this you can see only so many cathedrals before they all start to become one cathedral in your head and it's all work. But if you really have the stories of place along with preservation of the place, that's sort of a whole broadening of what that means. You do keep the murals that are on the walls of buildings. You do keep the things that people have made as part of their culture. The other thing is that as a part of the old guard, it's the first time I have really felt that the younger than I am, by probably a couple of generations, it is taking over this field. And that, quite honestly, feels great. That feels absolutely a lot of youth
and a lot of energy in looking at the partner stories of all people of the areas. That's why you get into, you know, yeah, let's talk about the Chinatown, let's talk about the 60 some odd Black folks who came here from the Civil War and were minors in our community, and about whom we have virtually no knowledge, except that we're beginning to pick up more and more and more knowledge, and it just makes the whole thing more full, makes it, I don't know, and I had a great deal of a sense of that. The other thing that I particularly enjoyed, which had straight to do with buildings, is that woman, what's her name, Reba Barr?
Yeah.
Who is that architect out of Boston, I think it is, but when she looks at a building and somebody says to her, you have to retrofit this, you have to rehab this for an alternative use. That woman has some of the most inventive ideas I've ever seen. Some of the things that she showed were just sort of staggering on how you let the historic aspect of it continue to have, you know, continue to be the most present thing and still fit in all these functions and, you know,
And reflect the historic art of that in new constructions.
yeah, and in that thing that you add to it. It was, I agree, I thought overall the speakers were very, very good. No one was, going to sleep at lunch.
Just didn't enjoy it.
No, I did. I was speaking about the lunch itself.
Oh,
No, he was sort of like, the fun was really marginal. It was, yeah.
Hey, nothing was served. What was
I know.
that?
Yeah.
Put that in the feedback.
No dessert.
Totally agree with you.
What about dessert?
Okay,
Sean, it is.
yeah,
So, I could add, since you were talking about tax rebates, that I went to an asbestos one, and there is funding for asbestos removal. For people, yes.
in form of a rebate.
You have to partner with a historic, a nonprofit
Yeah.
to get the funding though.
It's gotta be a nonprofit.
Well, you have to partner with the nonprofit to get the funding.
How would you partner?
Oh, that's easy, the nonprofit makes we did Eklund House, we did HDI, the nonprofits are passed through, I mean, Nyson and Anderson recently, but to pass through the trust.
Yeah.
You know, you partner with the nonprofit, but the nonprofit is really only keeping track of the finances, and that's why you partner with them. They're not actually telling you what you need to do, but the money comes to them, they parcel out the money, they're responsible for the oversight of the grant money. And that's what the nonprofit does, it's an oversight role, it's for the money, not.
How much do they,
They didn't say.
okay.
How much it covers, but
Who's it from?
I'm sorry.
Who's it from? Where's the source of this?
Is it a federal program or?
Sounds like it was a federal program, well, I can't think of the name of the company.
Well, we probably.
Yeah.
And they also do contaminated soil
Yeah.
removal. And there's funding out there for that, lead removal or encapsulation. There is funding out there, I never knew that. I thought you were on your own.
Yeah.
But there are ways to get funding, just. I thought you'd wanna know that too.
Well, something like the Ram after that fire.
Yes,
The removal of that was huge.
that was the first thing I thought of, was that, and then the condos down by the lake.
So I wonder if they can apply for that.
Removal.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, because that's actually very helpful, and yeah, the partner with the nonprofit is how you
But that was the key, that was,
That's not a deal.
that's how you get the funding.
And both the HCI and the trust have done that multiple times for multiple projects, so. For a variety of reasons. And John, right, you got a lot to live up to, you know?
I gotta catch up.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, I got plenty of time.
I don't have any time, but also catch up.
Yeah. Okay. All right, updated COA docs.
Yes, so I gave you all a copy in the last packet. I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at them. They're not in this one because I didn't want to print them again.
Yes.
Are there any notes that you had from last meeting on those? And I have them here, if you want to look at them again.
Didn't we
You looked at it
that's-
last time, right?
Yeah, we did look at
Yeah,
it.
so
I think they're right.
it was going on. But I wanted to know that on the reporting. That you know, the forms that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
Are the way you want them.
Well, yeah, that was some other people are not used to. Okay, so anything that we talked about.
I didn't have any comments on it, did you?
And then what's page 2? Is that so on this where it says approval as submitted or approval with conditions and it says see page 2, that's,
Just the back side of it.
oh, okay. So I don't have to list them all on the front and the back. Gotcha.
And the thing I particularly liked was the application, that the requirements of the application are on the front.
Yes.
And you read the requirements of the application, and then you fill out the application, because we've got a lot of people who fill out applications without looking at requirements.
Yeah, they have hardly skimmed the.
You know, we had made comments, I checked them the last time we met, and they were incorporated. The big thing was having the town do stuff rather than say,
Right.
and that was a big, that was several places where that could change, and all those get picked up, so.
Okay, let me just read this, and I don't know if this was something that we changed or not. It says certificate of appropriateness expires after 180 days if a building permit application is not submitted or work is not commenced where an application is not required.
Yep,
Um,
that sounds right.
where an application is not required or a permit is not required.
Oh,
Yeah,
where a
should be.
permit is not
Or just
required.
add what building permit is not required.
Where a permit is not required, because those are all offenses.
If a building permit application is not submitted or work is not commenced where a building application, a building permit
Is not required, should change the permit.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Very good catch, yeah.
Okay. I think everything else.
The bottom half of that was written by Jerry, so I didn't change any of it.
Right, yeah, that was the part about zoning and everything, yeah. No, no, that's that. Okay, there was that one thing. Town of Georgetown, yay. It's been like that forever. Okay. Anybody else want to look at these real quick? I think that's
Now, we've been through some.
Yeah, okay. All
I
right,
would take that piece of paper though,
okay,
you don't mind.
it's the, certificate of appropriateness, so.
Motion to approve them, so they can be put on the website.
No, it's something that we're working on. Do we agree with that? I think we just tweak out paperwork on.
But I think we want on the website, in this form,
Okay, yeah, do I motion?
so move.
Was there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
3 seconds.
Yeah.
Really agree.
Very agreeable.
Okay, streetscape research.
Okay, so this is in your packet. Cindy and I discussed where to put it, so the location is listed on the top. Everything in green is stuff that we need to workshop. Everything not in green is what exists there already.
Okay.
And yeah, if you get to page 53, this is just the one for the historic district.
Okay,
And that's, we should know, this is just for the historic district, and there would be a similar one then that went in book 3 that would talk about streets and sidewalks in the Mill Site and Meadows districts. And so this is, and I would, and if you look at your page 53, it's just about sidewalks. So what we are adding is, all kinds of conversation about streets. And there isn't really any place right now that we address streets except on the hillside areas. At least none that I can find. I would recommend that, that we rewrite essentially the whole page 53. Yeah, we can save a lot of the stuff about sidewalks, but we reshape that whole page.
What road are you
And there too. And this is only the historic zone.
I have a question.
Can I talk a little about the utilization of this one? Yes. I think that what we're adding is streets, but I think that we would start with streets. And the first paragraph there in green is, it's Kate mentioning some of the things about streets. I would like to see us put a little bit of historic background on our street as a lead-in here, because typically we have these wonderful lead-in paragraphs.
Yeah.
So I'd like to, and I will work with Kate on that historic background.
so paragraph under number 4 sidewalks before we get started on.
Well, and this paragraph would, the one that she has in green here on the street, would move up.
Yeah.
But it also would be expanded to talk a little bit about, historically, of course, all of these were dirt streets. And we even know in historical time, when they decided to put sidewalks on the main streets, the streets were still dirt, but so I think we should give a little bit of background, but I would ask you to look at some of the ideas that are in that first green paragraph. And what the ideas simply are saying is that the north-south through streets, and that's what it should start with, because it's the north-south, Argentine, Rose, and Taos are paved streets, asphalt paved streets. And you notice they didn't do anything about Richard Main or Bill, or Spring. but those are I think we should have some logic to what streets would be paved and what streets that we are saying would remain unpaved. And so I would like everybody to think about that logic. Right now, we're saying that you have some north-south and your commercial area would be paved on 5th, 6th, 7th Street. Because that's what your commercial area is. And it would probably be paved on 11th Street at the end of your historic district, because that's what leads you into all of your north-south streets, actually.
What about Main Street?
Well, people on Main Street would absolutely prefer us to say don't pave it because it's so straight that people just speed.
Well, that's not the point. Point is, it is a main artery of intent.
Yeah.
That's
And it is half paved.
What was that?
Yeah, but we're not talking about what happens after 11th Street,
Okay.
because after 11th
Well,
Street,
even up here, trying to get through town, the best way to go is through Main.
Yeah, Main is the main street back to the other.
I think Main Street's gonna be the debate, yes. I think Main Street's definitely gonna be the debate,
It's not,
because Main Street is a more heavily residential street than other streets, and do we really want it to be the speedway out of town? It is for the locals, but by the minute you put pavement on it, going across that bridge and down that way, you have created a whole different line of traffic.
well,
Something needs to be done with drainage and potholes needed.
it's,
I don't have a problem with some of the type of
I've seen,
paving, but Main Street is a mess. It is always a
for
mess.
40 years, that street's been a mess. I mean, it's just never, even, we've had people come in and regrade it, recrown it. Nobody's come up with a solution. If you're worried about speed on that, well, we will put in dips. Because there could be dips anyway for drainage fans in there. And it's not about speed. I think we have to think past that. You gotta think about,
Starts a big past speed.
well, you're gonna have to.
I missed that. What'd you say?
No, isn't there the thing past speed, is an incredibly straight shot, and,
Yeah.
and it's.
You know, it's up and down. I mean, it's not like.
I mean, you've already good point. If you go down by the lake, and that's, where the Clay Creek, or whatever it is, that goes right through that section on the populated side of the lagoon. The fact that you've got those pins in there, that really slows people down.
Oh, yeah.
They're, inverted speed bumps, effectively. And we need something like that on certain areas of Main Street to control the drainage.
Especially.
Because
And it's only gonna be worse now with all those houses there.
Exactly. You're not gonna be able to maintain it, it's the other thing. They can't maintain dirt roads either, they do.
Well, let's put a marker on Main Street.
Let's
that
put a
we
marker
need to-
on Main Street.
But it'll be a good discussion, but I think.
Yeah, but we're not trying to solve the drainage problem either. It needs solving, but these are guidelines for what a street and a sidewalk looks like.
Okay.
And I understand, that there are places that the drainage needs to be solved. We do have to make the dirt streets work if they are maintained, and we don't maintain them. That is the problem.
We don't.
Yeah, no, we don't maintain them. We don't maintain them at all, and that is a problem. But if we're gonna look at it historically, I agree, the Main Street is the place that we're most likely to disagree, because Griffith just sort of exists there in Middle Street, for heaven's sakes, it's in pieces all over the place, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
Well, it is.
it's got traffic
Yeah,
count,
it's-
the fact that
Yeah, and
It is.
it's
It gives us-
perfectly.
I think we can solve it with a roundabout.
But I think we'd like to do some paragraph up front that sort of explains the light. The cross streets, my way of thinking would remain unpaved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But essentially, the 100th Street basically would remain unpaved. And that explanation would go up top. And then down below, C would become A, you know, I mean, you discussed the streets first. Speed to me is a consideration, but it's actually not our consideration, because our consideration is what you have done to the feeling and the look of a place.
Well, traffic management becomes a second layer after the streetscape is established, you know,
That's right.
whether things are gonna be one way or have stop signs on every corner, which. I think Rose Street's a racetrack.
It is.
You don't always have a street.
Yeah, I think there's different ways they can control the speed. Like you said.
Without making it look,
Yeah,
but because the other, where do sidewalks? And sidewalks traditionally went down your paved streets. And so are we saying that suddenly we're going to put sidewalk down Main Street, or are we gonna put sidewalks or sidewalks never exist?
There may be a few rare cases where it needs one, like just on down Rose Street, when you get to the park and then the sidewalk stops to get to Alpine, you know?
Oh, okay, down by the red house.
Yes, because
There's
those
a
sidewalks on roads and towns were intended to go to the park. That's what they did.
But, yeah, but there's like a neighborhood area, where the sidewalk stops.
Yeah, and so it makes sense, yeah.
So,
it makes-
so possibly
makes
that's
sense.
area needs a
Yeah.
sidewalk. But, you know, a few things like that, but I don't think there's a lot of streets that don't have sidewalks now, that we need to start with sidewalks.
Yeah, and you see, that's where, if we came back to Main Street didn't have sidewalks, and I would leave it without
There's
sidewalks.
just not enough room.
Well, actually, technically there is, but
Yeah.
well, I mean, technically there is,
Yeah, but they'd be right, the whole thing is crunched out.
That's what happened to Rose Street.
Rose Street.
There is, I think, on Main Street, town right of way that we could kick people back quite a bit, that Rick was telling me about, they've encroached on, so just so you know.
yeah, all these streets are 40 feet wide, they're platted 40 feet wide, except in front of Mr. Moore's house where it's 50 feet, never mind, you know, the roads really, anyway, they're all platted 40 feet wide. And they were platted that way in order to provide the fact that you could have 2 5-foot sidewalks and you could have a tree. You know, they were doing sidewalk and street trees. And Taos and Rose Street and Argentine Street historically had street trees. Really?
No, we're talking back to the day when things were a lot smaller, vehicles.
Right,
Horse and
right,
wagons.
right. But one of the reasons that for the gateway, we put a sidewalk and street trees was because that was sort of symbolic. And we had 100-foot right of way, so we had plenty of room to do it in.
They didn't have power.
But, so you had 7 and 7, and that meant you had 36 left. No, you had 26 left for your road, so essentially, that's why they were, in 1870s, they actually thought about the width of the road and the width of the sidewalk, which is really symbolic, but that's why all of our streets are that, anyway, but are we saying that basically the sidewalks go on paved streets where historically, where they were historically present? Because you notice on Argentine Street, that sidewalk went up to the Hamel House, it's likely. And that probably had a lot to do with the amount, but, and it goes on both sides of the paved street. And the pavement ends there.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think under streets, I don't know what you mean by consideration, I don't think we're doing, speed, but we are doing the historic character of the street. And then, yes, we will end up discussing in the top paragraph, the main thoroughfares as opposed to the side street. And the fact that the commercial area has to be entirely paved, and those streets can all have sidewalks.
What about parking lots in the commercial area?
They're all private,
Not all.
No.
Just a bunch of hardwoods.
yeah, and.
Third Street. It's kind of out of the way.
Two parking lots for Linden?
I think it should be, at least at the commercial end. Because if people want to pay, do we want, in the commercial area, would we be amenable to paid parking lots, or do we want gravel parking lots?
We have
Well,
already
we
had
have-
a paid parking lot several times.
Yeah,
I think we should add in here that we want gravel parking. lots.
well, they don't have to be necessarily gravel. The one at the old school is road base.
Okay, but they're not.
Not asphalt.
They're not actual.
Not
I mean, they have to be in. So, yeah, I think.
There's public commercial parking on page 56.
Yeah, does it talk about it? Yeah, let's talk about it.
Now, it talks about, but that's for driveways. Doesn't do, oh, commercial parking.
Yeah. Cause we kind of use this when the bank was talking about, doing the,
And then page, yeah.
that's the bank.
Oh, Yeah, and under D, it goes options to consider are grass, creek, gravel, chip and seal. Chip and seal, of course, is pavement
Mhm.
and providing landscape islands. Maybe we just leave the parking lots in the parking lot department at the moment and not try to move it into streets. Okay.
So I would like to ask a question about Rose Street. Sidewalks on Rose Street. Is that okay?
Yeah.
On my house, there's like 3 or 4 different levels down to the street. So I have flagstone sidewalk. Then there's a little, stone wall under that. And then there's this other piece that's about this wide. And I would like, and it looks terrible.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to put a low growth, natural flower up there. It's about this, they're about this high. Summer and snow, it's called. Because I don't know what else to do with that. I don't think we should have to put in like grass into that space.
No, but she's in the tree space that was. like-
Yeah.
Oh, the tree space.
Yeah, and so yes, if you want to plant it, you can plant it.
I can.
Well, I talked to the people park.
He said so, yeah.
Do people park in front of your house?
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, here's a couple of things. They walk all over it.
Well,
And it's
it
very
holds up.
hard. Yeah, I know, well, I've been through that, I've planted the low growth and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
I gave up on that. They walk all over it, it's hard, it gets real hot on the street, between the sidewalk and the street and the curb and everything, so it's really hard to keep them alive. And then, I mean, I would literally see people walking down, walking on instead of the sidewalk, so that's just it. People parking there is kind of a problem with that.
Well, I
And I
tested
just
that.
got rocket in mine now because I get it. Part of the problem in front of my house though is when they redid Rose Street, they dumped all the construction crap. Just so it is, some of the soil is only like that deep.
You're sitting on.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
This was there, and I was.
It's a little shadier too, it might be easier to grow something.
Well, I grew it last year on Thursday,
Yeah.
just to see how it would
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
And it did great,
yeah.
and it
There's a
looks
couple things
pretty.
I can tell you that would be real hardy for that type of thing.
So I'm gonna plant it, and then if you guys object or, no, it's good housing.
No, but that is what I said, that, they designed the street, so you could have a sidewalk and then you have
Yeah,
a
you have
planting
the
space. And then you had the street, and that's why the streets were the widths that they were. And if you walk down Rose Street in front of the Bowman Light and stuff, they've taken, those were some of the original street
Yeah.
trees, they just got off low, they had to go.
Yeah.
But that is the typical way that it was done. The sidewalk was in, and there are places all over Denver that you see the same exact kind of thing. You have these flagstone sidewalks and you have this band between it and usually it's trees. Simply because of the things you talk about, you know, people avoid, you know, they can't walk over a tree.
Yeah, and grass is hard to keep.
And
So I give it a shot, and we'll see what
I'll talk to
happens.
you, I've got some good plans.
Trees are what caused the flagstone to go.
And the power lines are on that side.
Yeah, and now we have power lines and they didn't have power lines. So we will have to talk about that whole thing under street trees. Yeah, street trees were common. But maybe we ought to explain them. And I'm not sure that lighting,
Yeah, that should,
that's not, the lighting's gonna be attached to houses. We in general don't do.
There's street lighting.
This is street lighting.
Street lighting all over town.
Guys said there's street lighting.
There's street lighting all over.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be interesting to do an inventory of the ones that are not on Argentine Street. I've done Argentine Street,
Yeah.
and there's like 47 counting the parking lot. And
You count them.
we're gonna put, what, another 40 or 50 probably.
No, you're talking about streetlights.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there are
But
a
these-
lot more than you think there are.
Oh, no, I mean, I know we have a lot of our own streetlights, but, okay, I see what you're saying.
this line, this paragraph is about streetlight.
Yes.
Yes, it's not about general lighting.
It's also about special event lighting is something that the Denver one has in it.
I don't think we got it.
No, I, cross out G,
Yeah.
we're not doing special effect lighting, restricted lights, things like. We are, if they're gonna leave our lights.
Well, they're temporary.
As long as they're temporary. Special effect lights don't, matter as long as they're temporary. If they're permanent, maybe they better come talk to us.
Yeah.
Okay, only permanent, and then I think that for the lighting part, we're gonna take a look at, because what Rob's been working at is all the different types of lights we now have that we put up. I mean, yeah, that we put up along Argentine, that we put up, well, Sixth Street is all our lights, and we're putting up others and
Well,
stuff.
and then you're gonna have 3 different styles. Argentine are all basically the same style.
Yes, that's what.
Sixth Street is its own unique style,
Yes.
and then Strauss Park is gonna be a third style.
The Sixth Street lights are direct copies of the historic lights. The only one that's weird is the one that's next door here, and I wish they would fix the bulb and put the right.
I think it's not a bulb problem. The actual fixture glass is a different color. Like they keep changing the bulb, but it's pretty clear the outside is a different color. Whatever they replaced it with, the glass is not, it's like more white or something than the other one.
The Campbell type chimney on
It's
it,
got the wrong chimney completely,
that's easy to fix.
and it's got the wrong color light.
They tried to replace the bulb because they're like, the bulb is the problem, it's the wrong color, but it's the exterior that's the wrong color.
Huh, John's gonna think.
That is interesting.
Yeah, let's take a look. I don't know that we get into locations and, but I do see where we would be going with lighting.
I mean, on the street lighting that is on poles, that they're probably not owned by the town to begin with. You got the old
Right.
skirt, you know,
Yeah.
flat skirt with the light hanging, you know, basically
And lights,
a
yeah.
regular light bulb hanging down, then you've got the, you know, the road, the highway road kind of lighting.
The Cobra heads.
Yeah, with the Cobra heads in there. It would be nice if we could, you know,
Standardized.
standardize, go all with one type or
That's
something.
all Excel and they're not speaking to me, which have to be.
kind of things going on at South Shore.
It's actually kind of cool to have it stand like it's ground.
I like that. I think those should be,
You can't have more people coming, like, go further down.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's just so nice and soft.
Yeah, no, it's. I think we did well on six, that's where that one, like, look at it tonight, people out, because that one. Do we have any meetings?
We're planning on installing one, I think on Argentine. A traffic calming device, John wants to put in some medians.
Where?
Where?
I think on Argentine, don't quote me on that,
Mediums?
medians. To slow people down.
No.
No, maybe it is in the middle with grass and trees and stuff in it.
He wants to put in something in the middle of the road, I would call it a median, maybe that's a West Coast thing, I don't know. In the middle of the road, so people go slow. John Gaston.
He's not the one.
No,
The streets.
No,
Right.
no.
I mean, him and Rick, I believe, have the authority to do that, so.
On Argentine?
They haven't come down to us.
On Argentine?
On Argentine. Yeah, I mean, that's-
Again, don't quote me on the location, but I believe
Okay,
it's
that-
like near 7th Street on Argentine.
That road's.
Oh, they have a terrible time at the Seventh Street intersection. That whole intersection deserves, because, you know, they had stop signs when you came on Road Street, and they removed the stop sign, and Smoky Skirts is gonna get killed, because people coming out Seventh don't really see the people on roads, they have, there's a definite problem
It was a
there.
two-way stop, but it was the wrong ways. It's a street like this, and then a T, and the stops were here and here. And so you didn't dare come here and turn because the person sitting here was just gonna get, I mean, it was weird that it wasn't this street that stopped and this street that had right away or the other way around, it's just strange.
Yeah, I think it needs to put a stop sign.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just to be always
So
stopped.
we should discuss that, we'll get into that discussion.
But see, that's a change of streetscape, so we should come to this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not.
Yeah,
But it's a safety stage too, I understand what.
Yeah.
that
I
you got
feel
wrong.
obligated
Yeah,
to
it's
tell
safe.
you guys that my staff is not super comfortable with this project, as you can imagine. Like, I'm working on it because I've been instructed by you guys to do so, but obviously, my street, my road and bridge, Rick and my police department are not like thrilled that you guys are creating this section, so.
Yeah, I imagine that
But
too.
they'll have to
It's
do
not uncommon in cities to have street guidelines.
Mhm.
And in
Especially in
historic,
historic district.
especially in
We're
historic.
not
districts.
talking downtown.
The ambiance, you know, downtown, we're saying, yes, you get to pay, and we get the sidewalks, and we please, you know, have that taken care of, well, some sidewalks where they aren't. And, but as far as the character of this town, you would make, I mean, try to envision this place completely paved with curb and gutters and sidewalks on every single street you walk down. You've changed.
And stop.
that would be fine, we wouldn't have cars downtown. We'd be able to get here.
Yeah.
Would the road would be that narrow?
Yeah.
But the whole sense of place would change.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's,
Well, so, there could be a point where we can, if they have concerns about anything in particular, we can all discuss, but,
Absolutely.
you know, we're not saying,
Yeah.
ironclad.
yeah, however, I'd love to get ironclad that you cannot dump millings anymore on our dirt streets, it just makes the potholes worse. And
I thought that was the thing, they had to get approval from the town administrator before they could use millings anywhere. And we kind of talked about that once, remember?
yeah, we
And
did.
it turned into they
But
just.
you look at Main Street down in the meadows, I just was driving down Main Street and I thought, you know, nobody should just dump millings because you've got just incredibly difficult streets to drive on now. It's gonna be tough to grade and get clean.
Well, we're talking
On the
about
other
that
hand, the
too.
street in front of your house was millings that were properly rolled and properly put down.
That is, you know,
Yeah.
basically a chip seal type of approach.
Yes.
That's an impervious surface. And it works fine.
And it could be used very well in some places,
And town owns the big rollers.
yes, but that's not what happened on a number of streets, and so now you've got lots of paved that you can't put freighter in because you can't.
They're using that stuff as filter.
Yeah, filters or potholes, and it doesn't work.
Okay,
That's a big deal. Okay, I gotta go home, so I'm gonna check up with me. Exactly, I'm gonna do. But I think we got enough to do a second round on this. Okay, that's good. On the items to track, we had asked to have a written something from Foley and the, Husky and the Tango House. Do we have anything in writing from these guys?
Vincent Tinko has not gotten back to me. I need to, okay, Kosky, do you actually want me to send something to them? Because Mark is working with them, right?
We want something in writing about what the plan is to take care of the demolition by neglect request.
Okay, and then I need to get contact info for Foley.
Keith Allison, State Historic. He was sitting here yesterday, the Marks.
Allison.
Hey,
Oh, right. Sorry.
and yes, they have a contract out to do it, but we need some notification.
How about that Excel update?
Do we adjourn briefly?
did we, can we adjourn briefly?
Can we adjourn before I get to that? Could we please get the man on Howard Street to submit a,
Yes, he submitted his application, he needs to pay for it, he'll be on the agenda next time.
okay, all right. And the training, post research, really doesn't need to have a commission, we're just trying to respond to. Citizen request.
I will get you something on the house, we probably. Staging for him.
Okay, we have minutes. Do we need to do those next time? Can everybody? No, we got 3 sets. Okay, has anybody had a chance to look at these? I think the one just had like a comma. Was that the last ones? Maybe the ones we had last time. It was just like a comma in the little fall part.
Well, under Excel, I changed FERC. Remember, it was misspelled,
Oh,
and that's about it.
okay. Oh. So these have all been amended?
Yeah,
On the January 11th, we changed first.
yeah.
I like it spelled that way, but it's not good.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the January 11th and January 25th meeting notes
How about February 8th?
and February 8th.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I'll second
In favor? Everybody, please.
Hope you feel better.
Well, we're all sick.
Sorry, I'm sick.
Yes.
Let's see.